Yes, please.
Hello, everyone. This is Mashal Shahid. I welcome you all to the International Conference on Global Trends in English Language, Literature, and Linguistics, 2022. My name is Mashal Shahid, the faculty member from International Islamic University, Islamabad, and I'll be the moderator of this session, assisted by Jasmine Kaur. The objective of this international conference is to identify the knowledge forms and trends of literature, language, and teaching in English language. This conference is a joint organizational effort of Research Culture Society, Department of English, Mila, University Center, Algeria, and International Scientific Research Association. It is also supported by School of Language and Literature and Linguistics, EJU, and English Literature Club. On the behalf of the organizers, I welcome all the distinguished keynote speakers, presenters, and audience. The conference spans on 2 days, starting today on October 8th. Following this inauguration session, there will be 2 presentation sessions. Tomorrow on October 9th, similarly, there will be 2 presentation sessions, intermitted by keynote speakers session and followed by a valedictory session in the end. The organizers of this conference include Professor Rida Amir, who is the Director of Literary Studies and Critical Laboratory, Faculty of Letters and Languages, University Center of Maila, Algeria. Dr. Chirag Patel, who is the Director of Research Culture Society and Founder President of International Scientific Research Organization. Professor J. Adrina is the head of the School of Languages, Literature, and Linguistics, EJU. Now, coming to the organizing institutions that have taken part in this conference. First of all, we have Research Culture Society, which is an international scientific research organization registered with government and several united bodies. It is an independent, professional, non-profit, international level organization, which initiates and sets up new research and educational programs with international organizations. So far, it has successfully organized 100+ conferences, seminars, symposiums, and other educational programs. Department of Mila University Center, Algeria is a literary studies and critic laboratory. It contains 4 faculties, including Faculty of Sciences and Technology, Faculty of Economic and Management, and the Faculty of Law. International Scientific Research Association is a research entity providing scientific research services and educational studies. It is an honorary partner of Research Culture Society. English Literature Club is a group on WhatsApp and Telegram that includes literary researchers and academicians from the fields of English literature, language, and linguistics. I officially welcome all of you to the inauguration session, for which we have distinguished faculty members from esteemed institutions from different parts of the world. Our first speaker is Sedi Zamani, who is an ESL and EFL instructor in the College of Curriculum and Teaching, Auburn, Alabama, USA. Her research focuses on pre-service and in-service program to better support culturally and linguistically diverse students in the US education system. She is also certified in TESOL, English Language Arts, Program Evaluation, TEFL, Adult Education, Educational Assessment and Theory and Practice, Modern Motivational Theories and Effective Teaching, Teaching Methodologies for Young Adults, Reflective Teaching, and Communication Psychology during her academic life. Ma'am, we are honored to have you here, and I invite you officially for the keynote speech. Please.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your invitation. And if you please let me share my screen, I will share my PowerPoint with the audience.
Sure, please go ahead.
A nice morning and have a rest of peaceful conference and full of good information in this conference today. My name is Sedi Zamani. I'm here from Auburn, Alabama, the United States. and it's a pleasure to be in this conference with you today. I have been ESL and EFL instructor over 20 years of my life, and teaching English as a second language, as a foreign language, made me come to this course to train teachers for ESL and EFL students who are international in the United States educational system. I was really interested to see how the teachers are educated in the US education system, to see if what we learn in the books, in theories, are really matched in practice, and how the teachers have their attitudes and perceptions to international students. I just want to borrow a few minutes from your precious time to give you some information about my research and studies about international students here in US educational system. That's a very short introduction, and the purpose of my study, my research questions, a short let's review the methodology, the population, and my findings, and what we can do for future steps. The purpose of this study was to investigate the prospective teachers' global competency and to revisit the level of growth mindset by the courses that were offered in one of the Southeastern colleges of education in my university. I tried to re-examine the course design, curriculum structure, and the assessment tools that they were offered to teacher candidates in the College of Education, especially in the period of educational reform. My research questions focused on the topics of the diversity of the students, like the diversity of the courses for teacher preparation programs, the level of awareness of the diversity of the students in teacher programs, and also the perception of teacher candidates for the students' diversity, what perceptions, what attitudes the teachers had to teach the future students in their mainstream classrooms. In my let's review, I focused on global competency of the students. Actually, the students were the teacher candidates. Some of them were pre-service teachers, some of them were in-service teachers, and how they had the kind of positive or negative attitudes or conceptions or maybe misconceptions to their future international students. Also, I focused on the lack of global competency for teacher candidates, and especially in the days of global discussions that we have in our education programs, and how we can revisit and rethink about the teacher's identity, the multiple and double identity for both teachers that were teacher candidates and students in their mainstream classrooms. My methodology was limited to a 35 question survey that was focused on global perspective of the students that were the teacher candidates. It focused on their global competency and the elements of global competence, and on the three very important domains of self-awareness, cultural awareness, and cross-cultural awareness. The questions were divided in these three areas, and also we divided the question to see if the teacher's background, any kind of ESL preparation, any courses or platforms that were provided in teacher candidate courses could help them have this kind of growth mindset for their future teaching. The findings were very interesting. Again, we divided the teachers to different groups to see if they had any kind of ESL background or diversity background in their K-12, in their undergrad or grad life. Also, if they had any pre-service or in-service trainings, professional developments, workshops, or any courses that were offered during their teaching education programs. The findings showed that the more global awareness, the more global literacy courses provided for the teacher candidates we had teachers with more growth mindset. So whenever there were some activities, assignments, or guest speakers that they were assigned to practice some of this global literacy, they had a better growth mindset to teach the ESL students or international students, or have this kind of diverse groups in their mainstream classrooms. In short, I can say we could teach the teacher candidates or train them in a way that they practice their self-awareness and self-reflection, kind of self-study to see during their teaching, not just in the beginning of their teaching or in their teaching programs, during their teaching, if they can have this kind of self-awareness and evaluate, practice, self-reflect their global literacy and their attitudes or perceptions toward the diversity of the students in the classrooms. Because we know these days we have a lot of international students coming to the United States in public school, in K-12. Every day we have students from different countries. So this kind of global literacy could be provided in core courses at the universities for undergrad and grad levels to provide some kind of tools or platforms for the teacher candidates for their just education for all the students, not only for their Native American students. By this study, we could recommend some kind of global competency awareness, how we can provide this kind of preparation and awareness for the teacher candidates or future teachers, or even in-service teachers who could take some courses, be certified, have some workshops in this area, how to build this kind of effect-based trust between the teachers and the students, policymakers, and the course designers, and also how we could increase the level of global literacy in teacher education for teacher candidates. And it is clear that more global responsive discourse and practices will bring more preparation and awareness for the teacher candidates and also future teachers to train the students. I included some of my references in my study, and I try to tell what I am interested in practicing these days in my research life. Thank you very much for giving me this time to listen to me about my interest in my research study. This is my email. Please feel free if you have any questions, comments, suggestions. I am just one email away. And again, I appreciate your precious time for listening to me. And I hope you enjoyed the rest of your conference today with these precious members of the conference. Thank you very much. Regards.
Thank you so much. We are also very honored to have you here and to listen to this valuable presentation. Do you want to take the questions right now?
Yes, ma'am, feel free. If anyone has any questions, I'm ready to answer. If anyone wants to email or write in the chat room, again, feel free based on your schedule. I just don't want to take time from the other guest speakers.
Sure. So thank you so much for providing your email. I'm sure the candidates the audience can reach to anytime. And also thank you for sharing your 20+ years experience. And you are very right in saying that nativity with the globalization has changed a lot of perspectives. And many teachers have students from different cultures and backgrounds in their class, even on national level, not just the US. So this is relevant to everyone here. Thank you, Dr. Zamani. So next we have the next keynote speaker we have is Srikarn Thongmak, who is an English lecturer in Inauguration University, Thailand. And her areas of interest are teaching methodology, fundamental linguistics, curriculum development, language and literature, sociolinguistics, and current trends in English language instruction. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us and taking your precious time out. Your areas of interest are the very topic of this conference. So the stage is yours for sharing your keynote speech, please.
Hey, all right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Srikarn Thongmak. I'm lecturer from Inauguration University, Thailand. I am expert in sociolinguistic and applied linguistic for English language teaching here. For my specific research, I I conduct research about maybe the case study of non-native English speaker in Thailand, the paradigm shift of English teaching in Thailand, and I linked my teaching career to see maybe the linguistic field and to blend between distance education from online teaching and maybe the paradigm shift in the teacher identity in Thailand. So I think that this conference will enhance my knowledge in terms of socio-linguistic field, educational field, and linguistic field. And I hope that everybody will get the knowledge from this conference. And now I think that everybody will ready to listen to many kinds of research and knowledge from this conference.
Sure.
Yes, thank you.
Please go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, next speaker.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Sirikhan Thongmak. Moving forward to our next speaker, who is Miss Dr. Purva Tirka. Or before that, we can have, Dr. Kanta Galani. She is an associate professor in the Department of English, School of Languages, Literature and Society, Central Sanskrit University, Jaipur, India. Her recently published book is Literary and Cinematic Manifestations of Hijra that has been published by Order Press, Delhi. She has always been taking keen interest in plays and staged plays and directed many skits. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us today. The stage is yours for joining your keynote speak.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. It's good to be part of this conference. Just give me 1 minute. I would like to share my screen.
Sure.
Am I audible to all?
Yes, you are.
So as we all know, there are very emerging trends in English literature. So here, my motto to present this paper is to highlight how new trends, new things, new technologies, new parts of literature are emerging, and how it is benefiting each and everybody in day-to-day life. Even the scholars, students, everybody gets benefited by this. So here, I would like to highlight all these things. So basically, text is a human consciousness put into a physical form that can be shared. Now, as we read something, there is a text. The origin of words you are reading are my mind, and I have to put them on a page for you to read. You are reading my thoughts right now. So why do we need to learn literature? I'm taking off the English because I think the rest of the world would be sore at me if I said it was English literature alone that pertains to the points I'm about to make. So by learning literature, you are opening gateways into the minds of people of the past and present, and especially for older and canonical works. You are viewing the consolidated, forged, honed consciousness of the best minds of any age. So you are seeing how they see the world, the things they wish to see in the world, and the ideologies of a world we can no longer explore. Often too, the best writers have revealed some quintessence of the human condition that only came to be exposed through their pondering and placing down of their conscious thoughts on the subject in a book. So basically, what literature is all about, what literature is teaching us, how literature has its impact in our life, I'm going to highlight, along with how the trends which are emerging and which are changing around us are having deeper impression on our minds as well. So literature teaches us about other times, about other people, other scenarios. All of these others become internalized and make us rethink ourselves, our time, people in general, and our experiences. So literature helps us form ideas, see the world from other perspectives, shift our ideologies, expose ideologies. To read literature is to travel backwards through time to see how things were and how people who feel so far are just like us. Literature can make us feel compassion for monsters, hatred for innocence, desire for the grotesque, and repulsion for beauty. During my teaching and learning experience, I have noticed this. Students who are part of literature and students who are part of management and other subjects, literature students are having keener eye and deeper emotions for the world around them. So, in short, literature connects us with our humanity in ways that are possible in otherwise. So recent trends such as we can understand the meaning of trends, which is something new, which is which was not existing before. So if we see the trends in literature such as the digital media, electronic technology, bloggings, other forms of social networking plays a significant role in English literature today. Everybody is like, if a student is having a tab or a mobile in his hand, then parents are saying yes, he is studying. But earlier it was like students used to have books in their hands. So scenario is changing, something different is coming up. So these trains are very helpful in endorsing the exchange of ideas and access to vital information which supports to review the work of literature. Digital media is playing very important role to academic analysis of English literature. Literary works can be reviewed, maybe discussed very easily. Twitter, Facebook, everything is discussing various issues being discussed, whether it's a literature, whether it's a society, whether it's anywhere. Though literature is reflection of society, so whatever is happening around or with us is going to come into the literature. Elements of communication like reading, writing has been changed to blogging, twittering, microblogging, 6-word novels. Long description has been placed with the small and micro descriptions. So this change has emerged. And then mobiles, laptops, tablets, smartphones become the most vital part of our day-to-day life. Anywhere in the world with the help of fast internet access. Earlier there was no Google Maps to help us to lead to the roads where our destinations, wherever we want to go. Nowadays everybody is on Google Maps, so it's easy to access on Google. Everything is available, so whatever we would like to explore we can through this. Human race accesses all mobile phones, computers with high rate speed, internet, which made them intolerant and nervous and eager for knowledge. They don't have enough time to sit and read to enjoy. That much time nowadays people don't have. So hectic life of a man brings him no time for leisure hobbies. In this fast routine work, knowledge must be enriched with little words and fast technology. Words did not take more importance they used to be. Books, newspapers, magazines lost their significance. Even the Hindu, Times of India, Hindustan Times, nobody is going to the libraries or reading them at their homes. Some are still passionate about this, but most of them are reading on their Macs or maybe laptops or maybe mobile phones. Cybernetic reading is displacing linear, closed, solitary reading. It is converting the process of literary reading. Reader is continuously exposed to internet, textual binds, virtual binds of mass media because of information technology. Including kids, even they are spending lots of time on this. So Hardy has a style describing landscapes of native lands which is not acceptable by today's reader. We can relate like there are no landscapes left which we can see and admire their significance. So I don't think it's much in. Literature has undergone many changes from the beginning itself and has flourished abundantly when it passing through all ages. In the age of cybernetics, literature has become an art form. It must be reconsidered as important for the younger generation. Modern tools have emerged, and urban quotations, poems have occupied a new space through SMS. Short stories are replaced. Stories can be offered in 140 characters only. There is no surprise that the world is growing smaller through internet. Flash fiction, microfiction have streamlined along complex models of writing. Before 2 decades, people used to spend their time in libraries, reading, researching, getting answers of their questions. Now, everything is on Google. Same goes with the dictionaries, like Oxford, it was a Bible for everyone. Now it's lost its importance. So everybody is having their pocket dictionaries on in the form of a mobile maybe. New trend in the six-word novel I have seen is a new genre for writers to do trials. After she died, he came alive. This is six-word novel by Rebecca James. One Gun, Two Shots, Three Dead by Marcy are examples of six-word novels. No one has think over about writing a novel in 6 words even before 50 years. Mr. Dickens is definitely turning in his grave. Six-word novels made the readers curious and thoughtful. These are new and readers are moreover interested in this. Blogging sites are boon to budding writers because it provides opportunities to them. It makes them famous and more popular. Flash fiction is another type of new genre. In this, words have to be used very limitedly and the idea should be catchy. Famous example is Aesop's Fables. Most of people like this work due to its concise form of writing and inferred moral. Twitter fiction is being classified into certain new literary genres. Twitter genre generates new names by combining the names of different genres with the name of application. Thriller becomes trailer, haikos become twaikos, short stories become twist stories or twisters. Twitter has created new revolution also in the literature. Shit My Dad Says is a television serial is based on Twitter feed started by struggling comedy writer Justin Halpern in 2003. Twitter fiction stays elements like brevity, multiple meanings, intertextual ties as characteristics of microfictions. So, further, if we can see, literature is kind of creative thinking and writing. Writings are new trains of enhancing skills. So, types of writing because it has very demanding and very spontaneous forms. Blogging, twittering, microblogging, six-word novels are all of them are changing the trains of literature with regard to reading and writing. It offers chance to new skilled ones, serves as a platform for those who want to publish their writing to the world in the form of a literature. And if I could highlight more, there are classists who are very much dissatisfied this because Pope and Dryden would not be liking all these things as their writings are full of jargon, slangs and very heavy decorative style of writing. So they will not be liking six words novel or short stories. So Dante's Inferno is boiled down to I am having a midlife crisis, lost in woods, should have bought my iPhone. These are informal style of writing and writers repeatedly ignore grammatical errors, wrong use of vocabulary. They don't give more respect for great works of literature. Shorter these are shorter than short stories, flashier than flash fiction, and now they have become twittier. A creature we must have heard now this is Stray Teacher. SMS, Facebook, poetry have degraded its position due to the usage of language. Grammar is avoided and lost its importance. Misspelled words are very much in the SMS language, and readers don't want to know about the details of any book or writing. So this is all emerging. Diary writing was very much in earlier times. Now it is out of date. People are writing, making notes. People are having option in their mobile phones, which by the note, so they are taking everything down in this app or maybe uh, Diary is a collection of memories nowadays. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and other networking sites is used as reliving memories. So there is no doubt that Facebook protects men from the tedious task of maintaining the albums, preparing scrapbooks. Earlier is used to happen. Nowadays, all being done by the Facebook, Instagram. They are just automatically preparing all these things and sharing with us maybe our stories or poems, whatever we are sharing, our quotes. So it's just compiled or collaged by them itself. So we don't have to look for the scrapbooks or something. So today more people are getting involved in writing with the help of media. It grows richer than the world is prehistoric period. There are many reasonable factors for the changing in literature, whether it's good or bad. Now English has emerged as one of the most acceptable global language. Electronic media has a great impact on literary writing in terms of figures as well as in their expectations. Poetry is accepted in variety of film songs, advertisement, jingles during TV news, daily soaps that have also media for entertainment for the audience. Emergence of modern trends is due to westernization in literature. Indian education system has also took initiative and introduced innovative interactive study like smart classrooms, and these have already come up. So new things are this, and we are more towards flash fiction, and more towards Twitterature, and Facebook. We would like to read our we would like to spend most of the time there. So recent trends playing a significant role in modern English literature, and use of media has led to the emergence of new writers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Galani, for the wonderful presentation and for very relevant. You rightly pointed out the new trend in the English language, literature, and linguistics, that is the impact of digital on English language learning and teaching. And you are right that it sharpens the sensibilities, and also the long texts have gone towards the shortened text. And of course, the flash fiction is the new in, and I'm sure it will give a new direction to all the people present here, to the researchers. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So next we have Dr. Purva Tirika. She is an assistant professor in GGDST College, Chandigarh, India. She has published 3 books titled Leftover Ink, Photojournalism, and Worded Void. And her 4th book of poems titled Ellipses is under publication right now. Dr. Trika, thank you so much for joining us today. Please share your thoughts.
Vishal, thank you. A very warm welcome to one and all present here. It's been such a pleasure and honor to listen to all the speakers who are present here. So I won't take much time, but I want to go over a little bit about children's literature since we're talking about global trends. So my presentation is, I'm unable to move to the first slide. Can you just give me one moment?
Sure, please.
Yeah. So this is the topic of my presentation, which is gender roles and stereotyping, a critical re-examination of children's literature. And I want to talk about what actually children's literature is and how has it changed over the years and how do we now need to update it, trying to meet the global demands. So children's literature or juvenile literature, they include stories, books, magazines, poems, which can either be defined due to genre that they're in or for the intended age of the reader. They're essentially for children. And you can trace their history from fairy tales and oral literature to 20th century, which is also known as the golden age of children's literature. Now, children's literature plays a very important role in the development of children. I'm not going to go into much details because of the paucity of the time, but it provides opportunities for children to connect with literature. It enhances their language skills and critical thinking. Then the respect for cultural heritage, because you see a person like you in the stories, which should ideally be the case, but there are a lot of gaps and loopholes. It develops their emotional intelligence and creativity. It leads to their growth of personality and social skills, stimulates imagination. So it really, really creates a world for children. You know, they're shaped into being adults because of the things they see around and because of the things that they read. Now, the focus of my presentation is the gender roles and stereotypes, for which I would like to refer to the gender schema theory, which has been given by a very famous psychologist named Sandra Byrne in 1981, according to whom it's a theory that proposes that our children learn their gender roles from their culture. So our culture is the one that really defines them, and it is to what they adjust and align their behavior with. So gender schema theory can help us understand how children's literature really shapes their identities as an adult, and entire concept of identity is also, I think, quite pertinent in the present times. How gender is portrayed in children's literature. How is it portrayed? through the content. Maybe the story will have only the male child. Maybe it's only by default a child in white color. The children of color are not there. Or through the language, which also is something we'll come back to in detail, or the illustrations, because sometimes the illustration are the ones that actually create these, they propagate these stereotypes and not the text. So gender bias can be seen in the extent to which a gender is represented as in the main character. And that also leads to some kind of sexism sometimes, which is insidious. So it's like the child is reading the book and not even realizing that it is sending out a different message to the child. And it propagates stereotypes sometimes. So I'm going to analyze a few literary texts in the past, from the past and the current ones, and how the scenario is changing. I define stereotype as a negative statement which is made about a group of people. So it means when you generalize something that applies to one person to an entire population. There are some very interesting studies actually that have been done in reference to gender roles and stereotypes, especially by Ernst in 1995, who analyzed that it's always the boys' names that appear twice as often as girls' name in children's literature. He found that even if there's a gender neutral name, generally people assume it to be a boy in the story. And in another of his study, he said that the women are always portrayed, the girl child is always portrayed as sweet, naive, non-confrontational, very dependent. On the other hand, the male is always aggressive, physically strong. So, and even the kind of profession, like the occupation, a woman would be either a homemaker or a nurse, and a man would be, a boy in the story would be, he would look up to his dad who's a firefighter, or who's doing something which has to do with his physical strength. So much so that it even applies to the animals. When I was researching on this, to my surprise, I realized that even the animals, generally we only stick to the male gender, even when in the animal representation. And if it's an allegory, we assume, like a children's story would tell the child that a wolf is a bad animal and a dove is a quiet and peaceful and docile animal. So even the imagery that they see in the books, something that even applies to the way they characterize animals. If animals are given qualities, then representation of a female would be with rats or with animals that are not very strong or powerful. On the other hand, the boys are represented as bears or very sturdy tigers, something like that. So according to the statistics, I won't go into much of the detail, but this is a very important research by McGrath, Fairchild, and Guerrols, where they studied all of these academicians. They studied 6,000 books, which were published from 1900 to 2000. And remember, this is the time where feminism is already, it's there in the air. People are talking about giving representation to women. Still, according to the stats, males are central character in 57% of children's book, and only 31% have female characters. And you can read the stats on the screen. Not more than 33% of children's book in any year contain central characters that are adult women or female animals. Male animals are central characters in more than 23% of the books, while female animals are only in 7.5. So on an average, you can see, according to even the latest statistics, even if I give you the stats of something as recent as 2011, the girls are always trapped in passive roles and whiny roles, and boys are described as, they are also, it's not that only girls are stereotyped, even men and boys, they are, because even men and boys, because boys are not allowed to cry. They're not allowed to express emotions. And I'd be very happy to give some illustrations in one of the slideshows that I'm going to play right now. So heroines in children's literature, they're always associated with certain qualities, and even through the language. Like, for example, even the language does this. You have host as like the male and the male norm, and then the deviation is hostess, derived from the word host. Manager, manageress. Doctor, woman, doctor. And something as, sort of sinister, like mistress, which could be double meaning. It is derived from Mr. And this is something very typical of also Indian society. Those of you who are in India, you would relate that all our relatives are derived like that. Like you do have a mama, who's an uncle, and then you have a mami, bhaiya and bhabhi. So all the relatives are derived from the male, norm, and then the other kind of the other gender is represented as some kind of a branching out from that word. So there is also stereotypical representation of occupation. And to my shock, I saw this children's book. It's called I'm Glad I'm a Boy, I'm Glad I'm a Girl. And this is an actual book that was published, and it's available on YouTube. And I'll just play it for you. I won't go through the entire length of the book, but you can just see the stereotypes. Boys have trucks, girls have dolls. It's an actual book. Boys are strong, girls are graceful. Boys are doctors, girls are nurses. This is an actual children's book. So it goes on, and all the boys can eat, girls, keep the houses. Boys build houses, but girls keep them. So the entire list of things. These are patriarchal stereotypes that are constantly being reinforced by books like that. And if we talk about nursery rhymes, which also sometimes have very dark origin, and here also I try to analyze a lot of nursery rhymes, but I'm only sticking to 2 or 3 here. We'll see that here also the stereotypes are being, totally reinforced. For example, when Jackie's a good boy, he'll have cakes and custard, but when he does nothing but cry, he shall have nothing but mustard. Here, it's just sending out a message that Jackie, being a boy, should not cry or cannot show emotions. He'll have, if he cries, he will get nothing. He won't get any goodie. So he's not allowed to show his emotions. Then there's another rhyme, it's been published in the Oxford Book of Rhymes, nursery rhymes. It says, what are little boys made of? Frogs and snails and puppy dogs' tails. And what are little girls made of? Sugar and spice and all that's nice. That's what little girls are made of. So we can see that if a child who is almost like a sponge, who's imbibing everything that's coming from the environment, read something like this, recite something like this, what message is a child getting by reading this kind of literature? And most of the nursery rhymes, they really aren't what they are. Like, for example, this very common nursery rhyme, ring around the roses, pocket full of posies, ashes, ashes, we all fall down. So the origin of this rhyme came in 1665. There was a great plague in England and so many people died. And it has some there's reference to Black Death. There's reference to a rash. Rosy is a rash. It's a euphemistic way of saying a rash. And the bodies would smell so much that people had to fill their pockets with flowers. And ashes, ashes, these are ashes of people really dying, all fall down. So very morbid kind of history to this rhyme, which children just sing and, they run around singing this. Aba black sheep at the same time. This is again, talks about the medieval wool tax. This totally talks about, especially the color discrimination, that the black sheep, it has the wool actually that was derived from the black sheep was considered a bit inferior. And here one is for the master, one is for the dame, and only one is for the little boy, because the tax was so much that one part of your entire collection of wool was taken by the king, the second was taken by the church, and the third was left to the shepherd or the farmer or the one who's manning all the sheep. So there are more rhymes like that. We have Mary, Mary, quite contrary, which actually talks about torture and murder, which children just sing like a simple nursery rhyme. So a couple of, literature like that, which reinforces stereotypes. Coming to fairy tales also, I mean, we've all seen, I think we all are well aware of these stories. Like Cinderella is, the stepmother is shown very wicked. Cinderella is always quiet. She keeps doing all the household chores. Snow White, she eats the poisonous apple, and then a prince comes and saves her. He kisses her and she wakes up and she comes alive. So they're all damsels in distress. And the message that Cinderella and Snow White really send out is, in both these stories, you have the ideal female prototype of beauty, that they have to be fair and they have to be with a certain, body dimensions and all. And their silence is equated with the virtue, that they're quiet women. They don't complain. They're just silent. And that is why they are the princesses. So they have to be a particular way. And when children read these stories, they really get that idea that this is how we're supposed to be. In The Princess and the Pea, there's a princess, the real princess, who sleeps on 21 mattresses with a pea under it. And she wakes up and saying that I have a bad backache. So which means that, a woman, a femininity is equated with the extreme sensitivity, that you're supposed to be very sensitive. You're not strong. Even a pea can hurt you. So those are the ideas that these kind of fairy tales really propagate. Now coming to the updation. What is the solution? Since this conference talks about the global trends in language and literature and linguistics. So the global trend here is that things are definitely changing, though not as much, because the latest stats also reveal that there's still a lot of disparity. People have started including, females as female characters, female protagonists, but then, you have other genders who want to be included. Then there are the children of color who want to be included. So there are, so the onus really lies on us teachers, on us parents, on the reviewers, on the academicians, to have these kind of policies in literature which give children the counter viewpoint, which make them focus on critical thinking. And there are some examples of these great books that have come out in the last few years on children's literature, like William's Doll, where there's a little boy and he really, really wants a doll. And everybody in his family says, no, 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 boys don't play with doll, but he really wants a doll. Then his granny eventually gets him a doll. This one, The Paperback Princess, again, a very classical. It's also going to be made into a movie. There is a princess named Elizabeth who's betrothed to this prince named Ronald. And a dragon comes and he kidnaps the prince. And he comes to the castle and he kidnaps the king. And this princess doesn't have any clothes to wear. So she only finds a paper bag, she wears it, and she doesn't give up. She looks around and she, finds the dragon. She fights the dragon with a riddle. She somehow defeats him and she finds her prince. And when she finds her, the prince says that Elizabeth, oh my God, he says, Elizabeth, you're here, you smell like ashes, your hair is all tangled, and you're wearing a dirty old paper bag. Come back when you're dressed like a real princess. This is what the boy tells her, that you're not like a real princess. And in return to which, Elizabeth says, Ronald, your clothes are really pretty, your hair are very neat, you look like a real prince, but you are a bum. And she kicks him and she leaves. And she, there's not that the prince will come to her rescue. She goes out on her own adventures. So you do have this kind of literature that's engaging with, the counter viewpoint. They're atypical storybooks. An atypical storybook is essentially where, a person is not confining to a gender role, where characters display behaviors that are associated with opposite sex. Like there is this book called My Mom is a Firefighter, where you have a gender neutral role. A woman, this boy's mother is a firefighter. Then there's a book called Amma's Toolkit, where one of the pipes in the house leaks and there's a flood in the lane, and everybody's looking for Amma. And then Amma comes with her hammer and wrench and anvil, and she's the plumber basically. She acts like the plumber and she fixes the pipe. Then there's a book called Made by Ruffy, which is a very iconic book, very popular amongst children around the world, which is about a boy who loves to knit. And everybody in the class teases him that only girls do knitting, only girls do crocheting, but he doesn't listen to them. He doesn't like all these noisy games and all these, if you also remember Ferdinand the Bull, he doesn't like fighting. So he's, he makes a scarf for his dad's birthday. And people stop him, but he continues to knit. And then on the fancy dress day, he makes a cape for himself. He knits a big cape and he's the star of the show. And everybody starts accepting that, okay, boy is very well knit. Then there's a book called My Friend Robot, which has the robot here. This talks about a lot of diverse group of children. There are children of color, the children from various ethnic backgrounds. They all come together and there is a robot, and they're different tools they play with, a hammer, like it's a girl in the main protagonist, and still the different tools. And the last one is My Princess Boy, where there is a boy who does not identify himself as a male, and he loves to wear a tiara, he loves to wear dresses, and everybody around him, tries to tease him because he's too girly for a boy in the society, as in the general estimation of genders. But the family is fully supportive. So there's that idea of gender diversity that children are learning. So there are these books that are being written, that are being published. But the point is that are we changing? Like when we teach our children, when we go to school, when our children are learning in school or at home, are we picking up the right book for them? Are we just sticking to Ladybird and all these princess stories which are so outdated, or are we actually making the right choice? And my last submission here for the presentation is that the illustrations also make a lot of difference. Not just, we've talked about how the text, the main protagonist, that changes a lot. How the language really changes a lot, because the language that you're telling the children, if you're constantly using the word chairman in case of chairperson, or mankind in case of humankind, you're again by default saying that man is like the default gender in the world. So we are changing the language. We are trying to update ourselves. And so choosing the right illustration for children's book is also very, very important, because this nursery rhyme, Peter, Peter, pumpkin eater, had a wife and couldn't keep her. I have found so many variations of the illustrations for this very rhyme. For example, you have this here in this, so the reference to this actually could be, it might also be referring to murder at one time, because this is in reference to 13th century King John, who actually got his wife murdered. Like he created a big entire room of bricks and she was suffocated inside. So it could be a reference to that. That's what some of the historians believe. But other than that, the representation changes everything. Now the pumpkin is a metaphor for a home. And here in the first picture that you see, it says, Peter, Peter, pumpkin eater. Peter had a wife and couldn't keep her. So he put her in a pumpkin shell and there he kept her very well. So women are supposed to be inside the shell, inside the house, not loitering outside. And here in this, you can see that the girl is really happy. He's kissing her from the outside and she's, very happily, pleasingly accepted her behavior, that I'm okay inside. She's pleased. In the second illustration, Peter is also inside the pumpkin. Pumpkin is a metaphor for the home. And Peter is also inside, which means that it's not that he's outside or she's confined. There are windows, there is an open door. She can come out if she wants. The illustration changes everything. And in the third one, you can see that the pumpkin is actually a cage. And look at the girl's expression and look at the boy's expression. She's accepting imprisonment. It's almost like pumpkin is imprisonment. The domestic roles that she has to face are imprisonment. So there are these things that need to be really carefully looked at and changed. And we have to encourage children to see, to not bind themselves into being masculine or feminine, and to have a more gender inclusive approach, and to not reinforce stereotypes through what they're reading. And my last submission, sorry if I'm overshooting the time, is that there is this book which is called The Whole by Olvind Toresta. It's a book where I actually have a hard copy of this book. There is an actual hole punched right through the center of the book. And the whole is actually, in this book, talks about perspective. This is the kind of text that our children should be reading, where they see that perspective is everything and it can change. So there's this character like a mouse, and he says, what is this? He finds a little hole. So on the next page of the book, the hole, it becomes a hole in the wall. Then it's a hole in the floor. The book is punched right in the center. The hole is only at one place. But with the illustration that Olvind Toresta has drawn around the hole, the placement changes. Similarly, this hole, he takes the hole to a lab to get it examined, that what exactly is this? The hole is in a jar now, packed. It's the same place, but the perspective is different. Then, somebody picks it up and let's see how it reacts to the test. It's the same place. So it's just changing. It becomes a balloon. It becomes a nostril, a hole in the nose. So these kind of texts would teach our children how to have different kind of perspectives. And the need for updation certainly exists, always exists. And we need to just be more careful as teachers, as academicians, as literatures, to be very, very conscious of our choice when it comes to children's literature. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Trika, for your wonderful presentation on gender roles and stereotypes in children's literature. And you have rightly pointed out that trace the source of gender inequalities that we face, and they are through the children's literature. And we have to be conscious about the words and illustrations. Thank you so much for such an animated and explanatory presentation. Now coming to the next presenter, we have Professor Abdurrahim Boderbin, who is an associate professor in the University Center of Mila, Algeria. He is also an associate teacher at Constantine University 1, Algeria. He has a book chapter published entitled Enhancing the Quality of Teaching and Assessment, Teaching English in Algeria, which has been published by Cambridge Scholars Publishing. His research interests are linguistics, applied linguistics, corpus linguistics, discourse analysis, ESP and EAP teaching and learning methods. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Due to the time differences even, the stage is yours, please.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I would like to thank you for giving the University Center of Mila, Algeria, the opportunity to participate in this international conference. I thank all co-organizers and participants in this international conference. Well, my presentation is about teachers' expectations and students' achievements during confinement in COVID-19 pandemic, a case study of students' e-achievements at Algerian universities. As we know, this is a very thorny issue which occurred, of course, during the last 3 years because of the decentralization of learning. Well, abstract, the study aims at exploring the effects of using online platforms on learners' achievements and the teachers' expectations towards distance learning. Well, the most problematic issue in this week is that there be some kind of disturbance for a whole new city, what is the
Hello, can you hear us?
yes, hello.
Okay, please continue.
Such confinement has affected students' achievements and teachers' expectations, okay, in Algerian universities. And we relied on a questionnaire which was administered to 165 teachers. Those teachers are found on some specific groups online, that is on Facebook. Well, in this research, we raised the following questions. What are the effects of teachers' expectations on achievements during confinement, and how teachers' expectations are involved with students' achievements in distance learning? And we hypothesized also the following, that if teachers are made aware of students' daily routines, achievements can be improved. Well, one of the most influential, of course, models which have been used in this area is the Rosenthal model, the model of the we talk about teachers' beliefs and beliefs towards the students. However, when we talk about the students' outcomes and actions and beliefs, we always make reference to school and life, because those activities are all about what is happening in the university, that is during confinement, and at home. So in the latter, this model, the Rosenthal model, identify 4 factors which explain how teachers convey expectations and how they are, the climate, the feedback, the input, and the output. Okay, here these factors are important because they, let's say, they are considered as the breaking ground of how we analyze those factors, that is the beliefs, the attitude, the beliefs, the actions of the students in the classroom. So many researchers also try to link between teachers' expectations and students' achievements to other factors like the socioeconomic, decency and beliefs, okay, the ethnicity, it is the background of the students, and also the gender, the difference between males and females. Methodology. In this research, this quantitative research, we try to conduct a thorough questionnaire submitted online to a snowball of 165 teachers. The questionnaire was submitted particularly in some online groups, as I said, and to try to, let's say, target some specific groups of university teachers. And here we try, and here in this research, in this questionnaire, we try to make a link between teachers' expectations was made to Pearson's correlation coefficient strength and weakness of the correlation when the value is estimated as strong +1 or -1 respectively. Well, the results okay, of this study indicated that the most important features, which of course contributed to the of course determining the social daily life activities of the students' achievements and teachers' expectations, are first the digital literacy. That is, the more students are aware of how to use computers, the better they are engaged in these let's say distance education, and the better they get grades and marks in exams and finals. We have the second one, which is internet issues. Okay, the third one is lack of direct contact, because online education or distance education has affected students directly, unlike face-to-face, where students are confronted with their teachers and receive the lectures directly. The course type on the Google model or on Moodle or Google Meet The course type on Moodle or Google Meet. Next, the e-tasks and e-exams, because generally in some subjects, students received e-tasks and e-exams, okay, online, and they have, let's say, faced a lot of difficulties, specifically when it comes to using the internet disruptions. They are not familiar with some softwares, that is like Moodle or Google Meet. Well, the correlation which has been found in the results of the students was, of course, found between the distance education, specifically between the distance education, the teachers' expectations, and achievements. We can find that the correlation has been found to be high among the distance education and the teachers' expectations. Analysis. I mean, the analysis led us to assume
everyone, and the audience can look forward to more things. So we will have the first presentation session in about 40 minutes. That in about 50 minutes, 1 o'clock Indian time. So see you there.